Hello there, you are watching the press preview, a first look at what is on the front pages. Time then to see what is making the headlines with the journalist and broadcaster, Jenny Kleeman, and the broadcaster and commentator, Ali Miraj. Welcome to both of you. So, as ever, let's start with the front pages. Financial Times leading with the news that Tata, the parent company of Jaguar Land Rover, is planning to build a new electric car battery factory in the UK. Burning up, that is the front of the Mirror, which pictures the rescue of a small child from the intense heatwave sweeping Europe. The Express claims an exclusive with Rishi Sunak telling the paper that illegal migrants will face the toughest ever laws to stop them coming to the UK. Another exclusive in The Guardian, which reports that 28,000 people have so far been convicted in court for breaching the COVID-19 lockdown rules. The Metro reports that a mother who was given access to an abortion pill after lying about the term of her pregnancy is being released from jail after having her sentence halved by the Court of Appeal. The Telegraph tells us that Coutts Bank says it closed down Nigel Farage's account with them because of his comments on Brexit, which it says do not align with the company's values. Daily Mail, same story, says the bank has been accused of lying after originally saying it was because Mr Farage wasn't wealthy enough anymore. And the Star leads with Hugh Grant's role at an Oompa Loompa in the new Willy Wonka film, which has angered actors with real dwarfism. Well, a reminder, by scanning the QR code you'll see on screen during the programme, you can check out those front pages while you watch us. But let's head right now to our guests, Jenny and Ali. Welcome to both of you. And Ali, why don't you kick off with The Guardian, one of the papers that goes with migration, this whopping barge which will house just over 500 migrants. That's the plan.
Well, this is the Bibi Stockholm. I think it is. It looks like the Bibi Stockholm, which is going to be housing 506 migrants. It looks like a couple of the ships have had to be sent back because there's nowhere to dock them. And the UN is basically saying that this is actually going to lead to adverse consequences for migrants. The problem with this whole issue is that we have had 45,000 people cross the Channel last year, a lot of them putting their lives at risk, paying unscrupulous people smugglers £9 a pop for the pleasure of putting their lives at risk to cross the Channel. We know that only months ago there were 27 people that lost their lives, sadly. We saw that also happen off the coast of Turkey not so long ago as well. So there are issues around this. People talk about putting safe and legal routes in place. The problem is there are so many people who want to come to the country that even if we have safe and legal routes, which is a valid point to make, there's going to have to be a cap. 13,000 have already crossed this year. This is showing no signs of abating, and Rishi Sunak is now playing hardball. They've finally got their illegal migration bill through the Lords after ping-pong going on for weeks. Yeah, ping-pong, Lords aggrieved by some of the measures, certainly. But let's take a look at this. The local communities are saying they're not being told, which is part of the cruise ship problem. How do you have GP services? Where are the extra ancillary services for those people who are often, if they've come from conflict, traumatised, as well as possibly, suffering physical illness as well? So is there a sense of not bringing communities along with them? Or is it that the anger that some people are seeing having this parked in Dorset is why Rishi Sunak is speaking out in papers like the Daily Express here? He obviously thinks it's a vote winner.
This barge is a floating symbol of the government's desire to be seen to be doing something. And the idea that this barge is going to deter people who are prepared to risk their lives on small boats, that one large boat is going to frighten people, is just completely ridiculous. And their own research bears this out. I mean, this is one of the details that came out today, that there is no evidence that the illegal migration bill is actually deterring people from making crossings at the moment. But it's a huge victory for the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary. It's one of his 5 pledges is to enact laws to stop the boats. So it's not to stop the boats, it's to enact laws to stop the boats.
So that's a tick as far as he's concerned.
So that is a tick as far as he's concerned. But whether or not it will stop the boats is completely another matter. If he was really serious about stopping these boats, there are a lot of other things that he could do where there wouldn't be a physical symbol of it. He could provide safe routes of passage for people claiming asylum, because we know the Refugee Council says that 80% of those who cross in these small boats do go on to win asylum. They have legitimate grounds to seek asylum. He could pour enormous amounts of money into trying to cooperate with our European neighbours and stop the people smugglers. I mean, we have this law now that says that the Home Secretary has the right to deport people who make this boat crossing, but we don't know where to deport them to, because we can't deport them to Rwanda. That plan is mired in the courts. We can't send them back to the EU because we've opted out of that agreement with Brexit. So it's a big mess. It's gesture politics. It's a symbol of being able to do something. And if he really wanted to solve the problem, there's a lot more that he could do, but he wouldn't be able to tick a box or point to a picture of a barge which is going to appeal to a particular constituency of voters.
Yes, some might say we're paying the French already quite a lot of money. But let's take a look at the politics of this. We've got 3 by-elections later on this week. You know, they must be doing focus groups, surely, because they want us to see how tough they are, or that headline, the PM wants, you know, people to see how tough he is. You know, will they be seeing focus groups that actually, they're sitting there thinking, people genuinely want to stop, you know, the traffic of people across the Channel?
Which I think a lot of people in this country do, including myself, because I think that the only people benefiting from this are people smugglers. There are genuine asylum seekers who are fleeing for their lives, and this country has had a very long and distinguished history of supporting people in genuine need. But the Home Secretary said at the party conference last year that she dreamt of sending people to Rwanda. It's not going to happen. No one's going to go on a plane to Rwanda before the next election. Highly unlikely. So the problem for the party is, and this has been an issue going back years, that for 13 years they've been in government and not got a grip of this issue, and they're running out of time. So this is, as you suggest, Anna, all being done for election purposes, but also the public is getting quite tired of the fact that there's all talk and very little delivery. As Jenny says, this is now mired in the courts. The Rwanda plan is going to the Supreme Court. It was turned by deemed illegal by the Court of Appeal. I can't see anyone taking off on a plane before the next election.
And the Rwanda plan has already cost us £140 million for nothing. So talk about vote winners. I mean, imagine how much better that money could have been spent at a time of national crisis. I think the government should have a higher opinion of voters than thinking that this kind of gimmicky gesture politics is going to be enough to make people think, oh, yes, we'll vote Conservative if they're doing this.
But, Jenny, one thing, there is the $6 million a day that is being spent, you see. That is a key, is obviously an issue.
That's what the barge is for.
That is for the, but apparently the barges are going to save that much money either.
But we need, if the government was serious about this, they would be clearing the backlog, so we wouldn't need the barges. The reason why there are barges is because we are not processing these claims fast enough. And yes, there are lots of claims, but you know the backlog is enormous and avoidably enormous. It's because of mismanagement in the Home Office. But it's much easier to say, oh no, we're going to have a big ship that's a symbol of us doing something, than actually get down to the nitty-gritty of the problem and clearing the backlog.
Yeah, well, you say that, but there's staff shortages in many areas, so that might also be the problem.
Well, let's spend £140 million on recruitment then, instead of Rwanda.
Moving on to the FT and Tata Motors. You know, a win for Somerset, it would appear. Aptly timed, also possibly ahead of the by-elections.
Yes. Well, 2 days, but exactly 2 days ago. This is down the road from Somerton and Frome, where there is a by-election happening.
Half an hour away, we're talking.
Well, it looks like the Lib Dems might win that one, but we have to wait and see. I think that the government's in for probably a bit of a hammering on Thursday, generally. Now, but this is good news for the UK. Tata setting up a gigafactory in the UK to make batteries for Jaguar Land Rover cars. Apparently, we won it from Spain. They do want 500 million from the Treasury in terms of subsidy for this.
Is that the figure that
that is what it's being touted at. But the thing is, you've got to put this in some perspective, because you look at the Inflation Reduction Act in the US. Joe Biden is spending billions on gigafactories and hydrogen and battery storage and all of these things, and we need to do what we can as well to attract investment. So this is good, 9,000 jobs. I think it's a step in the right direction. Let's not forget that British Volt went bust not so long ago, so we do need to invest in giga capacity if we are going to decarbonise and phase out diesel and petrol vehicles by 2035.
And this is another tick for one of Rishi Sunak's pledges. He wants to get growth going, with British Volt going bust in January. This is supposed to be the death knell for the UK tech industry. Sunak wants to reinvent this country as a tech superpower. This is all going to be looking very good. And this is 9,000 jobs, and they're good jobs. They'll be well-paid jobs. They're jobs that bring know-how into the country. However, it is very expensive, if the detail on this is to be believed, in terms of the subsidies, and not necessarily sustainable for the future of the battery business in the UK.
Yeah. Jenny, why don't you do the metro for us? you know, this highly controversial court case, the abortion mother who lied about how far along she was and actually took abortion pills between 32 and 34 weeks pregnant, which is well outside the legal limit, isn't it?
Yes, and the legal limit is 24 weeks, with exemptions when the mother's life is at risk. The appeal judges said that this was about compassion. I think this is the right decision. I think abortion needs to be decriminalised. I think it should not be the case that it is best for society that this woman goes to jail. She has 3 children. Giving birth to a baby at 32 weeks who does not survive is a completely harrowing experience. I think she's been through a lot. She did the wrong thing. I think she has been punished. It's good that she's been convicted. I don't think she needs a jail term, and I think it should be decriminalised.
I agree with Jenny that it's good that she's been convicted. I don't agree that it should be decriminalised. In fact, far from it. I think, actually, it does puzzle me that people are saying that this should not be a criminal issue. Because what are we saying here? Are we saying that 40 weeks plus, when a baby is born, that we would actually believe in infanticide? Because, frankly, we wouldn't kill newborn babies. And what we're saying here is between 30 to 34 weeks, a baby can survive at 24 weeks, which is why we have a law saying that it is illegal in exceptional circumstances to not go beyond 24 weeks.
Nobody is saying that you should have an abortion at 32 weeks.
But this person...
No, people are saying she should not have been given the means to provide it, but that she herself, the idea of her going
But she lied to get the pills, right?
She did lie to get the pills. There should be better checks, but it was in the pandemic and it was in exceptional times. This is an exceptional case.
But there are some
and the
people,
idea that
Jenny,
people are doing this willy-nilly is just...
But, Jenny, there are some people, including some leading MPs, that have said that this should have never happened, there should be compassion, it should be decriminalised. I totally disagree.
Well, I think I think nobody has an abortion at that late stage. Nobody has an abortion at 24 weeks or 18 weeks, likely. It's an extremely harrowing thing to
sure it
pass
is.
a baby of that size at that gestation. So I think it's just a tragedy, and the idea that people should be going to prison for it is completely wrong.
Well, there's certainly been calls for reform of what are now, it seems, arcane laws, anyway, even if you don't believe in what you're saying about decriminalisation. Lots more still to come in the next part of our programme, including the record heat continuing in Europe. We will be discussing that in just a moment. You are watching our press preview with me, once again, Jenny Kleeman and Ali Miraj. Welcome back to both of you. Jenny, to the Telegraph we go now. This is Nigel Farage and his bank account. Bring us up to date with what he's done and what they have said.
This is a story that's been rumbling on for a while. He says that nobody will allow him to have a bank account. His banks responded with, he doesn't have enough money to meet the thresholds to bank with us. This is Coutts, which is a bank that specialises in people of high net worth, I believe it is called. But he asked for some disclosure from the bank. He asked for some paperwork from them. And those internal documents that were revealed to him suggested that the reason why they didn't want him to bank with them was because of his views, because he is seen, as it says in the pull quote here, as xenophobic and racist, and that it offered a reputational risk to the bank. He's apparently written something in the Telegraph where he accuses Coutts of lying about the real reason he was cut off. Obviously, it would have hurt his pride very much for him to have been told that he was cut off from this very exclusive bank because he didn't have enough money. There are a lot of people who will be really disturbed, though, by the idea that anyone, because of their political beliefs, can not be entitled to having a bank account. But Coutts is a business, a private business. They are entitled to say that they don't want to be working with people. But if this is the reason, this is something that will give a lot of people pause because, you never know. It could be you that's next that has opinions that people don't like and that people want to stop you from having a bank account with. So the details of this are interesting, whatever you think of Nigel Farage.
I mean, is it different because it's Coutts and if other high net worth individuals decide to pull their money because he's associated with it? I mean, he is seen as xenophobic and racist, as you said. He is considered by many to be a disingenuous grifter. Being associated with Nigel Farage represents a material and ongoing reputational risk to the bank. They're entitled to that view, aren't they?
Well, is it really a reputational risk to the bank in the sense that, look, every bank in the City of London will be making assessments every day about reputational risk. Would have been a reputational risk about this particular thing. No one would have known that Nigel Farage is a customer of this particular bank.
I'm sure he would have told people.
Would he have
I don't think
he would have been very
I don't think it would have
proud.
come out at all. I mean, look, I've known Nigel Farage for a very long time. We disagree on Brexit, but frankly, I don't agree with his views. But he's not what I think that Coots. But they're entitled to come up with their view. But quite frankly, this is a person who is leading a political party in the UK. He was not convicted of anything. He was not charged with inciting a violence or hatred towards anyone. You're talking about a major political figure. I find this deeply concerning. Very, very concerning. I mean, this is saying here, according to the bank's own records here, that this person does not align with our values. Well, this is quite worrying, because if a bank is going to deny someone, which is effectively a human right of having a bank account here, and the guy can't even now get another bank account, supposedly, I find this deeply disturbing. And Nigel Farage himself says that we are going to be moving to this situation, if left unchecked, we will sleepwalk towards a China-style social credit system in which only those with the correct views are allowed to fully participate in society. I do find it worrying.
Of course you would say that.
That might be a bit inflammatory. Or
No, but the thing is that we've got to remember that when this
stick.
story came out, and this is where I think that the bank should actually clarify this position, we were led to believe that it was because he didn't have enough money.
Well, that was after, wasn't
Yes.
it?
That was the argument.
Effectively the day two story.
That was the argument given, right? But now we find out that it's actually not to do with that.
Yeah. Jenny, we're going to move on. Sorry, I've got
Okay,
lots to
fine.
back in. I do want to get to the Daily Mirror. Burning up, a child carried from their
Yes.
blazing home. The inferno temperatures sweeping across Europe.
Terrifying picture. The same child is pictured on the front of the FT.
Yeah, this is Greece, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, and there are lots of people who are thinking about the holidays they've booked and thinking, maybe I can't go on holiday in Europe anymore. This is real. This is happening right now. What worries me about this, I mean, there's so much that's worrying about this, but there is a sense of hopelessness, I think some people feel when they see images like this. And we mustn't feel that there is nothing we can do. We just are going to need to adapt and change.
OK, Jenny and Ali, thank you both very much indeed. Thank you.